Hello, fire alarm technicians. Today we're going to be doing the in-depth part 1 of the 901 programming. I'm going to go step by step, interrupting myself a lot in a way to explain things, what we're doing and why we're doing them, and why I like to do them. So we're going to start here. I got a brand new file loaded. And the first thing I like to always do is right here, it says new FACP1. Whatever you have here is what shows up on the screen when it's system normal. So a lot of times I like to use the name of the site or say fire alarm panel on there. So we'll say like this is the Smith building. So Smith building fire panel. Oh, can't put fire panel, not enough words. But we have name addition, fire alarm system. All right. And you have some other settings here you can mess with. Typically, I don't touch any of these. Always note that there's your passwords there if you need to log into it. 1234 and 4321. All right, now we'll continue with this. We're done with that. We don't need to mess with system relays. We don't need to mess with NAC. And power supply we don't need to mess with. We're going to skip addressable loop. And we'll go to DACT. DACT is your dialer card. Now, if you have a standalone panel, all you need to do is right-click on this and hit Delete Node, and you would delete the DACT account. And if you don't, it's going to be looking for some phone lines from you and give you, I think, a total of 4 troubles, 2 phone line troubles, and 2 message loss. So you want to delete this if you're not using your dialer card. UFP. I'm not sure exactly what that stands for, but this is the line you would hook up your remote enunciator or a printer. And if you want to add one of those, you would go here and right-click, insert node, and it gives you your options. In this case, I'm just going to add one enunciator. And it names it enunciator at 1. Now, this name does not show up on the enunciator, so you don't have to worry about it saying something like fire alarm panel. It's just an indicator, so if you have multiple enunciators, you might want to name this something appropriate to its location. So if you have 5 of them in your site, and one of them is not talking at the main panel, you know which one it is. Oh, that's the one at the gym. Okay. But if you don't, if everything just says enunciator 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you may have to go to each one to find out which one it is. City type. In my office, we never use this, so this one always gets a delete node. Later versions of firmware has this program key, and it's one of the buttons on the main panel. It's now a programmable button, and it has preset program options. Just drop down and pick the one you want. I usually pick a NAC bypass. Okay, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pretend that we do have a dialer system. If you're only using one phone line, for example of a cell dialer, you could check phone line 2 monitoring off, and it'll only be looking for that first phone line. You see it comes grayed out. We're going to go ahead and do that for this purpose. And then you go over here to DACT network and then DACT account 1. And this is where you put in all your account information. Use whatever format you prefer. I prefer a DIMCO, but you use whatever you like. Got to put a 4-digit account number in there. 4 digits. So if your account number is 101234, you're only putting in 1234. Got to put a phone number in. If you're using standard phone lines, do not forget the number 1. You either got to put 1 in the dialing prefix or number 1 here. 1-800 123 4567. The DACT test time. If the monitoring if they'd like to call the customer if they have a missed timer test almost immediately, you got to think of what time this test is going to happen. So by default, it puts it right at midnight. So for some reason, if this was just a regular business building and they missed their timer testers late and they call them up 15 minutes later, you're going to get a call every time after midnight, waking up the customer potentially and having a very angry customer. So I like to make my DACT test time more daytime hours. 11 o'clock in the morning. They should be awake. For all these are musts, and we're just saying if anything happens, it must report out. And we are going to send out that test at 11 o'clock. That's right here. On DACT account 2, this is where you would put in almost all the same information. Same account number. This is where you have opportunity of putting a second phone number in. So the number you're dialing out to may be busy and it has a secondary number. This is where that comes in play. So this one's 1-800-765-4321. A different phone number from the first one. Oh, one thing I did miss earlier. Account test. This is the intro, how often it tests. Right now we use 24 hours, but they are talking about in the future going to an every 6-hour option. So this is already set up to do that. We're going to go ahead and just keep it every 24 hours. Let me go change this one. Back to every 24. Okay. Again, the sys timer needs to be slightly different. So this will be 11:15. Now, because this is a second account, this is only going to be used if the first account fails. So all these must should return to cans. If you leave these as a must, if you look at what they actually say here, we have an alarm. Alarm goes off. It must report on account 1. And if you left this as must, it must also report on account 2. So every event would be reported twice. And it's a little overkill. So these are just cans. A can if the first one fails. With that done, we're done with the DACT settings. Now for the addressable loop, line 1. So if you click on line 1, you have the option for Class B here. You can change that to Class A if required. We're going to keep it Class B. And you have option here, insert node, insert multi-node. The difference here is insert node does one at a time, and multi-node does multiple devices. Multiple devices, like if you have 5 OP921s, 5 smokes, you can do all 5 at once. And I'll do that right now. I'll do 2 of them, OP921s. So first got to find them. There they are, OP921s. And I have 2 of them. First one's going to be smoke over the panel, and that's going to be an alarm. The second one I'm going to say is actually a duct detector. So duct detectors I make supervisory. Hit OK. You see they're both in here, and they both get the name OP921 at 1 and OP921 at 2. A lot of technicians would like to change this line right here. I will advise against that because, say, a year from now, they say, hey, I got a device gone bad, and you're not there on site. You can't just pull down a device easily, and you want to come to the job site with that device. If you have this program, you can see that device is probably OP921. If you change that name here, you have to go physically look at the device itself. This is the only place you know what this device is. So do not change this unless this is your preference. It'll work if you change it, but I recommend against it. Anyways, we're going to continue here. So you got the OP921. You see various options here. And it works just the way it is right here. You don't have to do anything else unless you want to. Whereas there was smoke sensor at 1, this is where I would change. And right here I would say smoke over FACP, or fire alarm control panel. This one, again, don't need to change anything here, but duct rear Mac room. All right. Now, if you saw clicking on the OP921 gives you these options. Clicking on the sensor gives you some other options. You can select to use, where'd it go here? I don't know. Different smoke detectors have different settings. If you use the HFP11, you would have ASD settings you can enable. And this one, the newer ones, they don't have that. So just be aware that all smokes are not created equal in this program. So I said this one's going to be a duct detector. And typically duct detectors have both the input and there's a relay attached. But you see here's how do you get a relay? You click on the OP921 and give it a right click. Insert node, output channel. With that done, now there's an output. That's the relay. And when you add that, it tries to be smart and adds one for you. A control for you. Control 2 is added. Look at the cause is the zone here, supervisor zone. And the effect is the output channel that you assigned. All right, let's keep going here. We're going to add a pull station and maybe a FDCIO. Pull station is the 8 series HMSD, which is right here. It's a manual alarm zone, yes. Again, we change the title here from manual sensor. I will say pull front door. And we'll add that FDCIO. We'll pretend this building's sprinkled. See, now FDCIO has 4 input channels and 4 output channels. So when we set this, even if we're only using 2 of these inputs, we have to set what they are. The first one we're going to say is a water flow. It's doing the sprinkler system itself. The second one is doing the sprinkler tamper. So that would be supervisory. And we're not actually using third and fourth. So what would you set these as? Some people might set these as trouble. I keep these as supervisory. And there is a reason why. These 4 input channels all have resistors on there. And if for some reason the resistor is not on or tight or something happens, you would get a trouble. If you set these channels up that are not being used as troubles, you don't know if that channel is actually been accidentally triggered or if the resistor is missing or something's wrong with the line itself. So having a supervisory, you know if it's in trouble to investigate the resistor situation. If it's in supervisory, somehow this thing has been tripped. So it gives you a little more clue just to start off with to know what the problem is. But theoretically, 3 and 4 should never go off for you. I hit OK. And you see it adds 1 line here with 8 children underneath it. Now other versions will change this the way it looks, but this is the more current version. So I want to go ahead and show what they have here instead of the older versions. Again, don't change the FDCIO, but you can change the inputs. Let's say, I'll say FDCIO sprinkler. Make room, okay. FDCIO tamper. And even though these are not used, I'll say FDCIO mech not used. This one will be similar. FDCIO mech not used 4. And I'm putting the 3 and 4 in there, just so if they ever have a problem it's not used, they know it's input 4. Outputs we can label later. In this case, I'm actually not using them at this point, so I'll just leave them blank. All right, so a little discussion about the naming. This OP921, it's above the panel. If somebody removes it, so it is a device missing, the description it's going to pull from is right here. So you're going to have OP921 COM trouble. And if they hit the button, the OK button to get the expanded view, it will show a line underneath it that actually reflects the detection tree that's attached to. It's kind of confusing. So if you don't hit OK, you're just going to see OP921 at 1 COM trouble. They hit OK, it expands it. It still show this line, and then it will show whatever's on this line to give you an idea of where it's at. Now, that being said, if that same OP921 went into an alarm, it pulls a description from this line right here. Right now, automatic alarm zone, and then it'll show this as a secondary line. Or no, it doesn't show that secondary line. It shows this as secondary line, name addition. So we want to actually show, instead of automatic alarm zone, smoke over FACP. You can type it all in one by one, or you can go over to the whatever description you have over here. If that's a good description, we will highlight, do a Control C for copy, come over to Automatic Alarm Zone 2, Control V for paste. Now I'm saying you have to use keyboard commands because when you right click, like a lot of Windows programs, you expect to get that copy and paste. It does not work in this program, but the Control C and Control V does still work. So again, you can highlight, you can right click, you get no little pop-up menu, but you can hit Control C, come over to Supervisory, Control V. We'll just do this for the rest of these. Pull station, front door, Control C, manual zone, be Control V. If you got multiple water flows, you might want to change versus water flow zone. Even if you only have just one, it might be better to be more descriptive. So now, if we have any alarms or any supervisories pop up, they're going to pull from this line right here, for each and every one of them. And if you need to know what kind of zone it was, like I said before, if you delete this OP921, you don't know what kind of device it is anymore. It's gone. Erased from existence. You have to physically look at a device. We got rid of the word alarm zone. So how do you know what this is? If you actually click on it, it says right here, automatic alarm zone. So you can still know what kind of zone it was. Now let's say you made a mistake, and this smoke over FACP, it's currently a automatic alarm zone, but we want to make it into a supervisor zone. You can't right click and just change a zone. You can't even really delete this node because it wants you to delete the hardware attached to it. So if you delete that, what happens is it's still there. It has to be assigned, so it automatically reassigns it to this automatic alarm zone. Well, darn it, I don't want to be automatic alarm zone, so I'm going to delete it again. You can't. You can't delete that. So how do you make this a supervisor zone? You got to go to the Smith building here on detection, insert node, and pick what kind of zone you're doing. So say supervisory zone. Let's go ahead and give it a name. And this one's going to be smoke over FACP. For whatever reason, it's going to be supervisory. And we take this is called the child, and that's the parent. We take the child, and we drag it over to smoke over FACP. Alright, so another thing I would like to discuss is the naming convention I use. If you notice all mine here, duck, pull, FDCIO, sprinkler, or smoke. I try to keep in mind who I'm writing these descriptions out for. It's not for the technician. It's not even for the customer. It's for the firefighter who comes in there. The firefighter is not aware of your building, how it's set up, and where everything is. But he is here, and he's in a hurry because he's here to fight a fire, potentially. So he needs to know what he's looking for, and then where's it at. So first, what is he looking for? Don't just say front door. It's a pull or a pull station. Or it's a smoke detector. There's smoke over the FACP. Or there's a duct detector. You know, he needs to know what he's looking for. This one I have FDCIO sprinkler tamper. So you know what I'm looking for. Now where is it? Well, this smoke is over the FACP. Where's the fire alarm control panel? There's a pull station where? At the front door. Now with that, I've seen other people, they have a tendency to use directions in there. What I mean by that is pull station north door, pull station south door. While that's fine and correct, when the firefighter comes in at 1 in the morning and he's there to investigate a fire, does he know where north is? He might. But I assume that he doesn't have a good sense of direction. He just knows where he walked in at. So I do not, if I can help it, I do not try to use north and east, and other directions like that, because unless you're walking around with a compass, it's kind of useless. Alright, so with all that said and done, there's still one more step to make this usable. We have the DACT card being used. All these are going to sound a dollar code. By default, every single thing you stick in here is here on the dialer group 1. That means if we have the duct go off, it's going to send out zone 1. The pull section goes off, zone 1. A tamper, zone 1. Everything is zone 1. Therefore, what do you tell monitoring the report zone 1 as? Fire alarm has been triggered somehow. That's not useful at all. So what we have to do is we have to count how many zones we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which technically 2 of them are not used. So actually only 5. You already have 1. We need 5. So we're going to add 4 more. So on the bold dialer group config, or insert multi-node dialer group, how many? 4. Now we just drag and drop. Let's see. Smoke over FACP is device 1. So we'll keep that one on 1. The duct is number 2. So we'll drag this one to dialer group 2. Pull station is number 3. We'll drag this to 3. Sprinkler is the 4th one. So we'll drag this to 4. And this tamper is the 5th one. So we'll drag that one to 5. Now at this point it works. You can load this and it works. You don't have to change any names here. You can change these names if you want. These names will only be useful to technicians. These names do not broadcast over the phone lines. You'll have to update monitoring with what each thing is. This is purely for the technician. You can open up though and see what's in it as well. So changing these names is purely a matter of choice. It has no effect. Other things you can do with the dialer group. So it does send a signal, and in this case it's a sprinkler or a water flow. We're going to update monitoring and tell them that zone 4 is the sprinkler and mechanical. But additionally, with that, it can also the signal itself can say it's also a water flow. So for whatever reason, it did not get updated at monitoring, you forgot, and a week later, this thing goes on an alarm and sends out this, they're going to know it's a water flow. Even though you haven't updated monitoring, hey, we got an unknown signal, it's zone 4 water flow. Now the fire department knows it's a water flow. They don't have a good description, but you've set that. Otherwise, they all come in as a general fire alarm signal, including the duct detector. So if we click this one, we can hit duct alarm. And now, when they dispatch a duct detector to the fire department, they're probably not in such a hurry. This is, again, this is only useful if you forgot to update your monitoring list, but typically you should update your monitoring list. Now, there is something dangerous here. We got these 2 FTCIOs that are not being used, and they're here with zone 1, which is a fire alarm. So for whatever reason, if these accidentally went off, we don't typically use them. They're going to come looking for a smoke over fire panel. So we'll make one more dialer group. And we'll just drag these 2 into it. And we'd have to update monitoring, just tell them zone 6 is just a trouble zone. Do not dispatch on that. But now if something ever happens with this FDCIO and put 3 or 4, they will not be dispatched. And that's the basics. At this point, you're ready to save it, upload to your panel, and this should work the way it is. Later controls on adding audible bases or more in a control tree will come later. Thank you.